Florida's tourism board sells you palm trees and pastel sunsets. Reality sells you sinkholes, one-lane evacuations. And 40, three laws so absurd they somehow make perfect sense for this state. Number 1. Mile markers in the Florida Keys count down toward Key West, instead of up from the mainland. So half the state gives directions by number instead of street name. Forward and backward became optional concepts down there. Number 2. It's illegal in parts of Florida to have sexual relations with a porcupine. A statute that remains technically on the books, despite obviously not needing to exist in any functioning legal system. Nobody's prioritized removing it, presumably because there are more pressing porcupine-adjacent concerns. Number 3. Panhandle residents jokingly call their own region Lower Alabama, and honestly, once you check the map, it tracks. Same governor, same license plates, completely different accent, attitude, and planet from Miami 8 hours south. Number 4. Florida's highest natural point, Britton Hill, tops out at 345 feet, shorter than most roller coasters in the state. That's not a mountain, that's a generous speed bump. Florida is so flat a flooded parking lot practically counts as a wetland preserve. Yet it still builds fake mountains inside theme parks, just to give visitors a sensation of elevation the state refuses to naturally provide. Number 5. It's technically illegal to skateboard without a license in parts of Florida. A rule apparently written under the assumption that teenagers consult municipal code before riding to the corner store. Enforcement appears to be entirely theoretical. Number 6. Cape Coral has more miles of canals than Venice, Italy. Over 400 miles of man-made waterways dredge through what used to be pine flatwoods and wetlands. Also a mid-century land development company could sell waterfront lots to snowbirds sight unseen. The ecosystem didn't vote on this, and the mosquito population never forgave the decision. The town planners somehow get even lazier from here. Number 7. Old municipal code in parts of Florida still technically fines unmarried women for parachuting on Sundays. Nobody repeals it, because apparently deleting bad laws takes more effort than just leaving them there forever. Number 8. Certain Florida retirement communities built dedicated lanes, tunnels and traffic signals for golf carts, a vehicle that tops out at 25 miles an hour, complete with its own right of way rules, while pedestrians and cyclists make do with whatever's left over on the shoulder. Have you ever seen a city plan its roads around golf carts before actual sidewalks? Number 9. Miami and Fort Lauderdale, two entirely separate metropolitan business districts, sit close enough together that traffic between them regularly blurs into one unbroken city, yet each maintains completely separate transit systems that barely connect, turning a short logical train ride into an unnecessary daily car commute. Number 10. Florida and Georgia have spent 2 centuries arguing over their shared border, because it was surveyed so badly in the 1800s that nobody can agree where the line, or the water rights attached to it, actually sit. Grown adults in government buildings still bicker over a boundary a guy with a rusty compass drew wrong 200 years ago. Number 11. Florida runs on 2 time zones, central in the Panhandle and eastern everywhere else, so a single road trip north can gain or lose an hour without ever leaving the state. Would you trust a state that can't even agree on what time it is? Number 12. Jacksonville is, by land area, one of the largest cities in the entire continental United States, sprawling across roughly 80-40 square miles after a 1968 consolidation with Duval County. Most people can't name a single Jacksonville landmark, yet geographically it could swallow several major American cities whole and still have room for a strip mall. Could you imagine having to explain any of this to a first-time visitor with a straight face? Number 13. Florida's early 20th century tourism boom literally sold underwater swampland to unsuspecting northern buyers who purchased plots of prime real estate, sight unseen, only to discover they'd bought a plot of ocean. The phrase, selling swampland in Florida, became a permanent idiom for a scam because Florida developers pioneered the concept at scale. Number 14. The Villages, a sprawling retirement mega community north of Orlando, has grown into one of the fastest expanding metro areas in the entire country, despite an average resident age north of 70. It has its own town squares, its own local news, and traffic patterns dictated almost entirely by golf cart congestion. It functions less like a town and more like a self-contained simulation of one. Number 15. Florida strictly regulates releasing balloons for wildlife safety, yet only recently tightened statewide building codes for flood zones. Balloons get more urgent legislative attention than houses that need to actually survive a storm surge. Number 16. Feeding an alligator in the wild is illegal in Florida, but keeping one as an unlicensed backyard pet under certain permits is not. One gator gets you fined. The other gets you a spot on the local news as somebody's roommate. Number 17. Miami Beach was built almost entirely on dredged mangrove swamp in the early 1900s, so streets flood at high tide even under clear skies. Locals call it sunny day flooding, a polite way of saying seawater fills the roads for no reason except the moon showing up on schedule. Number 18. Florida is the only state with a tropical climate zone, putting the Keys in the same category as the Caribbean, while the Panhandle, 8 hours north, gets actual frost and occasional snow flurries. One state, two climates, zero consistency. This next infrastructure fail defies basic physics. Number 19. Florida has no state income tax, which sounds like a dream, until you see the property insurance bills, driven by hurricanes, sinkholes, and insurers fleeing the market entirely. One tax break traded for three much bigger headaches. Number 20. Florida's coastline stretches over 300 miles, more than almost any other state in the continental U.S., and yet vast stretches remain so critically vulnerable to erosion that beach towns spend millions annually trucking in sand from elsewhere just to keep the shoreline from vanishing into the Gulf. Florida is quite literally importing beach to remain Florida. Number 21. Florida sits on karst topography, a giant slab of dissolvable limestone full of underground caves, and this is also where millions chose to build swimming pools, shopping malls, and elementary schools. Would you send your kids to a school built on geological Swiss cheese? Number 22. Florida's natural spring system is so extensive that some springs maintain a constant 72-degree temperature year-round, attracting manatees by the hundreds every winter. Naturally, humans decided the correct response to a fragile ecosystem hosting an endangered species was to build boat ramps, water slides, and swim with manatee tourist attractions directly next to it. Number 23. Florida's official state reptile, the American alligator, coexists with roughly 1.3 million residential swimming pools statewide, meaning wildlife officials field thousands of gator in the pool calls every single year, treating it with roughly the same urgency mainlanders reserve for a raccoon in the trash can. Would you ever get used to checking your pool for an apex predator before your morning swim? Number 24. So many manatees carry boat-strike scars that biologists identify individuals by their injuries, essentially cataloging survivors statewide. While boat speed zones near manatee habitats remain some of the most routinely ignored rules on the water. And somehow we're still just scratching the surface. Number 25. Florida's invasive Burmese python population is so severe the state hosts an annual hunting competition, the Python Challenge, offering cash prizes to whoever removes the most snakes from the Everglades. Thousands are still out there, some over 17 feet long, quietly eating their way through native wildlife while tourists pose for alligator selfies completely unaware of the bigger predator lurking in the sawgrass. 6. Citrus greening disease has devastated Florida's orange groves so badly that the Sunshine State now imports a real share of the orange juice it sells tourists, sometimes from Brazil. The mascot fruit had to outsource itself. Number 27. A single eccentric artist built an entire castle out of recycled aluminum printing plates deep in rural swampland, complete with a functioning restaurant shaped like a Spanish galleon docked permanently on dry land. No zoning board apparently blinked twice. Number 28. A small unincorporated Florida community, due to an old land dispute, technically has no enforceable local government at all, leaving basic road maintenance in permanent legal limbo nobody's ever been legally required to fix. A town that exists, but functionally doesn't. Number 29. Interstate 4, the primary artery running from Tampa through Orlando to Daytona, has ranked among the deadliest highways in the country for years running. Thanks to abrupt lane merges and explosive population growth, the road was never designed to handle. Millions drive it daily like it's completely normal. It is not. Have you ever seen a local law this bad? Number 30. Florida can experience a hurricane making landfall and causing catastrophic coastal flooding, then a wildfire warning inland within the same week, because the northern and central parts of the state face real drought conditions, even while the coastline sits underwater. One state, two apocalypses, running concurrently. Number 31. Florida sits on porous limestone riddled with sinkholes, meaning the ground can swallow a pool, a car, or in more than one documented case, an entire bedroom while someone was asleep in it. Homeowners insurance here has an actual sinkhole clause, because it's considered foreseeable, not freak. Number 32. Florida contains an entire underground network of blue holes and cave systems so unmapped that cave divers regularly discover new passages. Some never fully surveyed to this day, directly beneath residential neighborhoods and cattle pastures. There are literal unexplored voids under people's backyards, and homeowners insurance just calls it Tuesday. Number 33. After Hurricane Andrew flattened entire subdivisions in 1992, it came out that thousands of homes built in the preceding decades had roofing stapled instead of properly nailed down, because inspectors had been rubber stamping approvals without actually inspecting anything. An entire generation of houses existed purely on the honor system. Peak absurdity is coming, and Florida has been saving the best for last. Number 34. Central Florida gets more lightning strikes than anywhere else in the country, earning it the nickname Lightning Alley, and outdoor youth sports, beach days, and golf tournaments continue completely uninterrupted through daily summer storm systems that would shut down entire cities elsewhere. Number 35. The entire Florida Keys, home to tens of thousands of people, connect to the mainland through exactly one road, U.S. Route 1, stretched across 100 miles of open ocean on a chain of aging bridges. Any sensible planner looking at hurricane-prone islands would build in redundant routes. Florida looked at that same chain and said one road should do it. Could you imagine evacuating an island through a single traffic jam? Number 36. The same porous limestone aquifer that causes Florida's sinkholes also supplies the state's drinking water. Would you trust a water system sitting directly beneath a place famous for the ground randomly disappearing? Number 37. The Everglades once spanned roughly 4,000 square miles of interconnected wetland, before drainage projects and agricultural development cut it by more than half. And Florida now spends billions of dollars on restoration, trying to undo the engineering decisions it made a century earlier. Built the problem, then paid to unbuild it. Number 38. Disney World contains an entire engineered mountain range built purely for thrill rides, meaning the tallest peaks most Floridians will ever climb exist inside a theme park, at greater expense than the state's actual highest point took nature to build. We are almost at the edge of what Florida logic can actually explain. Number 39. Florida's insurance market has become so unstable that dozens of private homeowners insurers have either gone bankrupt or simply stopped writing new policies in the state over the past several years, leaving the state-backed insurer of last resort covering more homes than most private companies combined. The backup plan quietly became the whole plan, and nobody seems thrilled about it. Number 40. There's a persistent local claim, backed by genuinely bizarre historical land surveys, that a small sliver of Georgia territory near the border was accidentally ceded to Florida centuries ago, and rather than fix it, both states have simply agreed to disagree indefinitely. Bureaucratic stalemate as a permanent geographic feature. Number 41. Florida's barrier islands, thin strips of sand separating the mainland from the open ocean, host some of the highest value real estate in the entire country despite being, by definition, geologically temporary landforms that naturally shift, erode, and migrate over time. Multi-million-dollar homes sit on land scientifically expected to eventually not exist in its current location. Number 42. Florida's average elevation is low enough that a sea level rise of just a few feet, while within projected ranges over the coming decades, would submerge significant portions of South Florida entirely, and yet coastal development in the highest risk zones has continued largely uninterrupted, with new luxury condos still breaking ground along the exact coastlines already experiencing regular flooding. Number 43. After the sinkholes, the pythons, the golf cart highways, and the single evacuation road for an entire island chain, Florida remains one of the fastest growing states in the entire country, with new residents arriving by the thousands every single week, fully aware of all of the above, and moving there anyway. The final, most insane thing about Florida isn't any one law or landmark. It's that none of it is a deal breaker. Maybe that's Florida's actual secret hiding underneath all this chaos. It isn't broken by accident, it's broken on purpose, held together by a strange kind of collective agreement that the sunshine, the beaches, and the sheer unpredictability of the place are worth the sinkholes and the single-lane bridges. There's a thin, blurry line between a quirky small town with character and a full-blown infrastructure disaster, and Florida has spent over a century dancing right on top of that line without ever quite falling off. Common sense in state government might genuinely be the rarest natural resource this state has left. So which of these 40 3 shocked you most? And what's the one Florida fact we missed that you personally can't stop bringing up at parties? Drop it below, because I guarantee it's out there. And if unpacking the glorious chaos of American geography is your thing, stick around and subscribe, because there are plenty more states with questionable decisions still left to unpack.